Welcome to our YouTube channel, The Alien Tales, and please ensure that you have subscribed.
In a galaxy full of corrupt cops, she's the only honest alien I know, and she just framed me for murder. 40 years of partnership. I trusted her with my life, my cases, my species' secrets. The betrayal burns worse than the plasma wound. Detective Grax Hollowbend adjusted his three-piece holographic suit, a necessity when you're the only six-armed, purple-skinned Thrixian in the Galactic Police Department. His partner, Detective Rilke Stormright, rolled her luminescent silver eyes as she watched him fuss with his collar extensions. You know that suit makes you look like a disco ball having an identity crisis, right? Rilke's voice carried that familiar melodic tone of her Xylorian heritage, though her words were pure sarcasm. Grax's mandibles clicked in amusement. Says the woman whose skin literally glows when she's annoyed. You've been a walking mood ring for the past hour. That's because we're about to arrest Commissioner Voldrak for embezzlement, and you're worried about fashion. Rilke's bioluminescent patterns flickered anxiously across her translucent skin. 40 years we've been partners, Grax. 40 years of taking down the corrupt cops everyone else was too scared to touch. And look where it's gotten us, Grax muttered, checking his plasma pistol with two hands while the other four organized case files. The most hated detectives in the precinct, investigating our own boss. Rilke's expression softened, her glow dimming to a warm amber. At least we're hated together. Besides, someone has to keep these crooked badges honest, right? Grax nodded, his confidence returning. Ready to take down another dirty cop? Always. They approached Commissioner Voldrak's office, unaware that by tomorrow, one of them would be dead, and the other would be running for their life through the neon-soaked underbelly of New Cosmo City, questioning everything they thought they knew about justice, partnership, and trust. The commissioner's office reeked of ozone and burnt flesh. Voldrak's massive Gorillian body was slumped over his desk, a smoking hole where his chest used to be. Grax's four eyes widened in horror, while his remaining two stayed focused on the crime scene. Well, this complicates things, Rilke said, her skin shifting to a nauseated green. Someone beat us to him. This wasn't random, Grax observed, his detective instincts kicking in. Plasma rifle, military grade, point-blank range. Whoever did this wanted to make sure he stayed dead. Rilke was already scanning the room with her bioscanner. No defensive wounds. He knew his killer. Her glow dimmed as she processed the implications. Grax, what if he was going to expose someone bigger? What if that's why? Don't move. Chief Brudigan's voice boomed from the doorway. The massive Ursine officer filled the frame, his badge glinting as menacingly as his fangs. Step away from the body. Chief, we just got here, Grax protested, raising four hands in surrender while keeping two on his weapons. We were supposed to interview Voldrak about the missing evidence funds. How convenient, Brudigan growled. The two cops investigating corruption just happened to find the commissioner dead. Rilke's skin flashed bright red, pure indignation. Are you seriously suggesting we killed him? We're the only honest cops in this precinct. Honest? Brudigan laughed, a sound like grinding gears. Hollowbend, your service weapon is missing from evidence lockup. Fired recently. Same caliber as our murder weapon. Grax's mandibles dropped open. That's impossible. My backup plasma rifle has been in lockup for maintenance all week. But even as he said it, doubt crept in. Bag him, Chief Brudigan ordered, and suddenly the office filled with officers, all pointing weapons at Grax. Wait! Rilke stepped between them, her skin blazing white-hot with fury. This is ridiculous. Grax wouldn't hurt a flibberfly, let alone murder the commissioner. Stand down, Stormright, Brudigan warned. Unless you want to be charged as an accessory. Grax's mind raced as energy cuffs snapped around his wrists. Rilke checked the evidence logs. Someone had to sign out my rifle. This is a setup. I'm on it, she promised, her bioluminescence pulsing with determination. As they dragged him away, Grax caught Rilke's eye. 40 years of partnership had created an almost telepathic bond between them. She nodded slightly, she believed him. In processing, Grax sat in the reinforced chair designed for multi-limbed suspects, watching through the one-way glass as Rilke argued with internal affairs. Her glow had shifted to a deep blue, She was worried. Then Detective Gornish, a sleazy reptilian with a gambling problem, sidled up to the glass. "Shame about your partner," he hissed. "Always knew that alien would snap eventually. You freaks can't handle civilized society." "Rilke will prove my innocence," Grax said firmly. Gornish's laugh was like broken glass. "Will she? Because according to the evidence logs, guess who signed out your rifle yesterday?" Grax's blood turned to ice. Through the glass, he watched Rilke freeze mid-sentence as internal affairs showed her a tablet. Her skin went completely transparent. Pure shock. She looked at him through the glass, and for the first time in 40 years, Grax couldn't read her expression. The holding cells in New Cosmos City PD were designed to contain species from across 17 different star systems. Unfortunately for Grax, they were also designed by the lowest bidder. His Thrixian flexibility came in handy as he dislocated 2 shoulder joints and slithered through the ventilation grate. The maintenance tunnels smelled like recycled air and broken dreams, but they led exactly where he needed to go. 20 minutes later, he dropped into evidence storage like a 6-armed spider. Looking for something? Grax spun around to find Rilke standing in the shadows, no longer glowing. In the darkness, she looked almost human, if humans had perfect bone structure and eyes like liquid mercury. "My rifle," he said simply. "I need to see who really signed it out." "I did." The words hit him like a plasma bolt to the chest. "What?" "I signed out your rifle yesterday morning." Rilke stepped into the light, and her expression was unreadable. "Forensics matched it to the murder weapon. Your DNA is on the grip. Your fingerprints on the trigger." Grax felt his world tilting. "Rilke, you know I didn't, do I?" Her voice was barely a whisper. 40 years, Grax. 40 years I've watched you get angrier at the corruption. Watched you talk about taking matters into your own hands. I never meant murder, didn't you?" She pulled out her plasma pistol, hands steady despite the tears flowing down her cheeks like liquid starlight. "The Grax I knew wouldn't run from a holding cell. The Grax I knew would trust the system we've served for 4 decades. The system is broken, Rilke. You know that better than anyone. Maybe. But murder isn't the answer." Behind them, alarms began blaring. Security lights bathed them both in red. "I'm sorry, Grax." Rilke's finger moved toward the trigger. "I have to bring you in." Grax's survival instincts kicked in just as her weapon discharged. He rolled left, plasma fire scorching the wall where his head had been. Years of acrobatic training paid off as he vaulted over evidence crates with inhuman grace. "Rilke, listen to me," he shouted, ducking behind a stack of confiscated hoverbikes. "Someone's playing us both. Think about it. Why would I use my own service weapon? Because you're not that smart," she called back, her voice cracking with emotion. "You never were the brains of this partnership." Ouch. That stung worse than the plasma burn on his shoulder. Security forces poured into evidence storage like angry hornets. Grax grabbed a confiscated grappling hook and fired it through the reinforced window. Glass exploded outward as he swung into the New Cosmos night. The city spread below him like a circuit board, neon advertisements casting rainbow shadows on the perpetual smog. He landed hard on a hovercar, apologizing to the terrified slug-person driver before rolling off into traffic. Above him, Rilke appeared at the broken window, her bioluminescence cutting through the darkness like a beacon. For a moment, their eyes met across the chaos of the city. Then she raised her communicator. "All units, be advised. Detective Grax Hollowbend is armed and extremely dangerous. He's also the worst shot in the department, so you'll probably be fine, but still use caution." Even while framing him for murder, she was looking out for him. Classic Rilke. Grax disappeared into the neon maze of New Cosmos City's underbelly, his heart breaking with every step. The Cantina Nowhere existed in the space between legal and illegal, serving drinks that could dissolve titanium and hosting clientele that law enforcement pretended didn't exist. Grax hunched in a corner booth, his holographic suit flickering with damage. "You look like hell, Detective." Grax looked up to find Nebula Jones sliding into the opposite seat. The human smuggler wore her usual cocky grin and a jacket that had seen more firefights than a war correspondent. "Not a detective anymore," Grax muttered into his quantum whiskey. "Just a fugitive. I heard about the commissioner." Messy business. Nebula signaled the bartender, a three-headed Cerberan who mixed drinks with surgical precision. Also heard your partners leading the manhunt. Former partner. 40 years of partnership doesn't just evaporate, Grax. Trust me, I've seen enough partnerships go bad. Nebula's expression grew serious. What aren't you telling me? Grax's mandibles clicked nervously. The evidence is ironclad. My weapon, my prints, my DNA. Even I'm starting to wonder if I did it. Did you? No. The word came out louder than intended, drawing stares from nearby criminals. At least, I don't think so. I've been having these blackouts lately. Nebula leaned forward. Blackouts, memory gaps. Sometimes I wake up in strange places with no recollection of how I got there. Grax's voice dropped to a whisper. What if someone's been controlling me? What if I really did kill Voldrak? That's some serious paranoia, detective. In a galaxy full of corrupt cops, paranoia keeps you alive. Nebula's communicator buzzed. She glanced at it and swore. They've got the cantina surrounded. Rilke's here. Through the grimy window, Grax could see his former partner's distinctive glow approaching the entrance. Back exit, Nebula whispered. But Grax was already shaking his head. No more running. If Rilke wants to arrest me, she can do it face to face. The cantina fell silent as Detective Rilke Stormwright entered, her bioluminescence casting ethereal shadows on the walls. Even the hardened criminals seemed awed by her presence, like a fallen angel walking into hell. Grax. Her voice carried across the room. We need to talk. Talk. Grax stood, his 6 arms spread in surrender. Or are you here to execute me for being an inconvenient partner? Rilke's skin flickered with hurt. You think I want this? You think betraying my best friend is easy? Best friend. Grax laughed bitterly. Best friends don't frame each other for murder. I didn't frame you. The words exploded from her, her bioluminescence flaring white-hot. I found the evidence, Grax. I followed the trail. I did my job. Your job. Grax stepped closer, ignoring the weapons trained on him. Your job was to trust me. Your job was to believe in 40 years of partnership. My job, Rilke said quietly, was to seek the truth, even when it hurts. The cantina patrons watched like spectators at a gladiator match. Nebula's hand rested on her blaster, ready to intervene. What if the truth isn't what you think? Grax pleaded. What if we're both being manipulated? For a moment, uncertainty flickered across Rilke's features. Her glow dimmed to soft amber, the color she used to turn when they'd work late cases together, sharing takeout and theories about the galaxy's endless corruption. Then her communicator crackled. Stormwright, do you have the suspect? Rilke's jaw tightened. Copy that. Control. I'm sorry, Grax. Rilke raised her weapon, but something in her eyes had changed. You're under arrest for the murder of Commissioner Voldrak. Grax closed his eyes, accepting his fate. After 40 years of fighting corruption, he'd become the very thing he'd sworn to stop. Then he heard it, a barely perceptible whisper. The quantum rose. Midnight. His eyes snapped open. The quantum rose was their old code phrase from undercover operations. Rilke was telling him to meet her there. I understand, he said loudly enough for her communicator to pick up. You're just doing your job, Detective Stormwright. As the energy cuffs snapped around his wrists, Rilke leaned close. The evidence was planted, she breathed in his ear. Someone's been using memory modification tech on both of us. Grax's mind reeled. Memory modification was illegal throughout the galaxy, the kind of black market technology that could rewrite entire personalities. How do you know? He whispered back. Because I just remembered something impossible, she said. I remembered signing out your rifle yesterday morning. But yesterday morning, I was in surgery having my bioluminescence recalibrated. I have the medical records to prove it. Security forces surrounded them as they walked toward the exit. To anyone watching, it looked like a routine arrest. But Grax's hope was rekindling. If someone's been messing with our memories, he murmured, then neither of us can trust what we think we know. Exactly. Rilke's grip on his arm was gentle despite the cuffs. But there's more. The real killer left a calling card in Voldrak's desk. Something only you and I would recognize. They reached the hover transport. As Rilke helped him inside, she slipped something into his palm, a microdrive containing 40 years of secrets. The Quantum Rose was a defunct nightclub in the abandoned sector of New Cosmos City, where broken dreams went to die under neon obituaries. Grax arrived first, having escaped from the transport using a trick Rilke had taught him during their rookie year. She materialized from the shadows like a ghost, her bioluminescence dimmed to almost nothing. "You came," she said simply. "Did you doubt I would, after everything I put you through?" "Yeah." They stood in the ruins of their past. The Rose had been their favorite off-duty hangout back when they were young idealists who believed they could clean up the galaxy one corrupt cop at a time. "The calling card," Grax said. "What was it?" Rilke pulled out an evidence bag containing a small origami crane made from official police stationery. "Remember Detective Paperworth? The case that made our careers." Grax's blood ran cold. Paperworth had been their first major caller, a dirty cop selling crime scene evidence to collectors. He'd left origami cranes as his signature, claiming it was art from chaos. "Paperworth died in prison 5 years ago," Grax said slowly. "Did he?" Rilke's expression was grim. "Because according to this microdrive you slipped me, his death was faked. He's been working as a memory modification specialist for a criminal syndicate." The pieces clicked into place. Someone hired him to frame us. But why? Because we were getting too close to something big. The commissioner wasn't just embezzling funds, Grax. He was laundering money for the syndicate. Rilke's skin began to glow with determination. "And we were about to expose the whole operation. So they eliminated Voldrak and framed us both, destroying the investigation and getting rid of their biggest threats." "Exactly." Rilke smiled for the first time since this nightmare began. "Want to catch some real bad guys, partner?" Grax felt his mandibles click in what might have been a grin. "Always." 3 hours later, the New Cosmos City Police Department looked like a war zone. Smoke poured from the chief's office while handcuffed officers sat in their own holding cells, finally experiencing justice from the wrong side. Grax and Rilke stood in the wreckage of the precinct, their partnership stronger than ever despite, or perhaps because of, everything they'd been through. 12 corrupt cops, including Chief Brudigan, Rilke reported, her bioluminescence cycling through satisfied colors. The syndicate's money laundering operation completely dismantled. "And Paperworth?" Grax asked, flexing his 6 arms as the feeling returned to his recently uncuffed limbs. "In maximum security where he belongs. Turns out faking your own death is surprisingly illegal." They surveyed the chaos they'd created. Internal Affairs would be investigating for months, but the worst of the corruption had been rooted out. "So," Rilke said casually, "want to grab some coffee? I know this place that serves drinks strong enough to dissolve plasteel." Grax laughed, the first genuine laugh he'd had in days. "After 40 years of partnership, you still don't know I'm allergic to caffeine." "I know," she grinned, her skin glowing warm gold. "I also know you'll drink it anyway because you're too polite to say no. You know me too well. That's what partners are for." As they walked into the New Cosmos sunrise, 2 honest cops in a galaxy full of corruption, Grax reflected on the lesson learned. Trust is earned over decades and can be tested in moments. But real partnership, the kind built on 40 years of shared danger, terrible jokes, and unwavering loyalty, can survive even the worst betrayals. Even when those betrayals turn out to be elaborate frame jobs involving illegal memory modification and origami-obsessed fake dead dirty cops. The galaxy was still corrupt, but at least now they had each other again. And really, that was enough.